It's time to get extreme on the State of Combat podcast on CBS Sports. My name is Brian Campbell, along with Adam Silverstein, getting you fired up for Sunday's WWE Extreme Rules card and our video YouTube preview. If you're hearing this in our audio version, please check out YouTube. Check out our mugs, getting you wired, getting you fired up. Silver King in the house here. Bro, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan. WWE making some strides. Should we be this excited as my voice sounds now for Sunday night's show?
Well, I don't know if we should ever be as excited as you get for anything, BC. But this is going to be a good show. I mean, it's a solid match card, top to bottom. Excited at there's 10 of them. Excited at what we're going to get. It's not overloaded like we get sometimes for a SummerSlam where we get 16 matches. It's not too short where not enough people are on the show. They have most of the major titles being defended and most of the major superstars that we want to see. So it's not a SummerSlam, it's not a WrestleMania, but Extreme Rules generally delivers, and I think this year is going to be another case of that.
And timing-wise, it's in Philadelphia, the home of ECW, the connection all there. But timing-wise, I feel like there's at least a little bit of pressure on WWE proper for this weekend's show, considering the recent news. Paul Heyman running the creative side of Raw. Eric Bischoff going to be starting, I think, in a week, running the creative side of SmackDown. We've seen a little bits of changes mixed with that old school Vince McMahon flavor. So you could say, Adam, that this show, if we're going to be super optimistic, could be the first day of the rest of our lives as WWE admirers, watchers, critics, fans.
Or the last day of the first half of our lives, either way, because like you said, there may well be a new starting point for WWE on Monday as they move into the Fox deal for SmackDown, their new USA Network deal for Raw, and certainly competition in the form of AEW coming in October on TNT, BC. But with that said, Extreme Rules is going to get underway Sunday. We're going to get underway talking about it right now. We have the Cruiserweight Championship that we're expecting to be on the kickoff show. Drew Gulak defending his Cruiserweight title against Tony Nese. Tony Nese looking to win it back, BC. You know, this match, they often are putting these Cruiserweight matches on the kickoff show. Does it deserve a little more main roster billing, or is this the right spot for this type of match?
This seems like the right spot. These aren't the two sexiest, most charismatic Cruiserweight contenders or champions that we've seen. In terms of this actual match, look, I love the idea of Gulak as champion. I think it brings a lot in there. You can't take the belt off of him this quickly. I hate Silver King, because you know I love the Cruiserweights and you know they deliver on these pay-per-view cards. I hate telling me, give me 7.5 hot minutes and get out of here. But for this match, I'm kind of stuck on that. I don't think the storyline here really necessitates a barn burner, a classic. Give me Gulak with the Dragon Armpit Sleeper holding back up that belt.
Yeah, I think Gulak retaining is kind of a no-brainer here, but it's as simple as they took all of the most exciting people, Ali, Cedric Alexander, I almost called him Cedric the Entertainer there for a second, and Buddy Murphy. They took him off 205 Live, so now we're kind of left with Drew Gulak and Tony Nese. Not that I don't like them, but they're not really main roster, main show caliber performers, or at least not in a show that is this loaded. So for me, I'm going to take Gulak. I'm going to get the hell out of there and move on to this Aleister Black-Cesaro match. We've already seen Aleister Black on the main roster in WWE, but they're almost acting as if this is his debut. And Cesaro, obviously, they just announced him as the opponent Tuesday night on SmackDown. I think it's going to be a great match, BC. Maybe just not the most exciting choice in WWE picking Cesaro for Black's first, let's call it, opponent.
Yeah, you can listen to the extended podcast this week on the State of Combat to hear our thoughts. And here are my thoughts. I don't like the build. I don't like the opponent choice. I certainly didn't like the reveal. That doesn't mean I won't like the match on Sunday, as obviously Cesaro, an incredible worker who can do the stiff style well, should work really well opposite Black. Black Mass, one of the best finishing moves in all of professional wrestling. You have to put Aleister Black over here, considering the effort put into retooling his character at a time when it didn't seem like it really needed it. All right, enough negative stuff. They're going to deliver with a good match. Aleister Black's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, if they give this 15 minutes, we're talking possible match of the night. I mean, there's no better person to possibly put Aleister Black over than Cesaro in terms of just in-ring ability. Now, if you want to talk storyline, yeah, they could have gone with Cena or Rey Mysterio or someone like that. But Cesaro and Aleister Black have the potential to be one of WWE's best matches of the year. So I'm really curious to see where they're going to put it in the card, and also curious just to see how Aleister Black wins. Is it easy? Is it going to be in 5 minutes, or do they let these guys really compete and go after it, BC. And talking about guys who are really going to go after it, the SmackDown tag team scene has really become interesting. You have Daniel Bryan and Rowan as the champions, and they're defending against New Day, Big E and Xavier Woods, and Heavy Machinery. I think the last pay-per-view, Stomping Grounds, you and I were both surprised at how well Heavy Machinery succeeded in a tag team title match against someone the caliber of Daniel Bryan. Now you have Big E and Xavier Woods and New Day, one of the best tag teams in WWE history. I think this match has the potential to steal the show as well.
It certainly does, especially that match you referenced where they allowed Heavy Machinery to be workers. And certainly these are big guys who are good athletes, but Daniel Bryan worked hard to put them over. With that said, and as good as the build has been on TV, showcasing the comedic elements that Heavy Machinery do well, I can't see WWE having the guts here to put the title belts on them more than those paper ones that they were wearing. What were those called? The Cook County Championships, whatever those were.
YOLO County, yeah.
Yeah, YOLO County. You only wear them once. I only think it comes down to, are we going back to the New Day? Is this a soft finish blow to set you up for maybe that title coming off of Kofi Kingston? And now at least you have the tag team belts back in the family and the faction. Not really sure. I'm more likely to predict Daniel Bryan and Rowan keeping these titles because they're doing such an amazing job with them. Bryan on the microphone is some of the best stuff we've seen in all of wrestling. This match will excite us, though, Adam. And the fact that I don't really know 100% which direction WWE is going or really should be going should bring some curiosity at the very least.
Absolutely. And Bryan's entire, aura of, hey, we're here to elevate the tag team division, put it in the main event, it really loses steam if they drop the titles, even if they're dropping them to the New Day. So for me, it just really doesn't make sense for there to be a title change. In this match, though, I think there's a little bit more likelihood that we see a title change in the Raw Tag Team Championship match between the Revival defending the titles against the Usos. Now, the Usos are looking for their 7th Tag Team Championship in WWE. The Revival have had 2 title reigns ever since it's come out that they may be on their way out of WWE at the end of their contract. So that puts this match in a really interesting, situation. Do they give the titles to the Usos and maybe are realizing that Revival is eventually going to leave? Or do they stick with the Revival and allow them to continue being tag team champions and find a new set of contenders for them?
Well, look, we're already towing the line of the whole dirt sheets and how much you want to believe, how much you want to allow that stuff into your thinking as you look at this. If the title belts come off of the Revival here, is that a tell that they are leaving? It's all very interesting and certainly adds some kind of juice to this matchup. I think the match can be fantastic. I'm never against the titles going back on the Usos. Their promo work has been incredible in this new iteration of them with the penitentiary, with the darker colors. It would be tough to see the Revival exit WWE main roster despite holding the titles a couple times without really ever getting a push, without really ever getting being put in something where it made them look cool, rather than seeing them feud against the B team or seeing them take everybody's finisher at Raw 25 at the Hammerstein Ballroom. No, I will not let that one go. With that said, prediction-wise, kind of feel like it's going back on the Usos. I don't think Vince and WWE was ever really high on these guys. And I think the recent quote-unquote pushes they've gotten as pseudo-members of this Shane faction that's been all over TV, seems like that has come to an end. So unless you're going for some kind of 2.0 4 horsemen and you're taking the Tully and Arn qualities that Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson bring, maybe they do give up the straps and maybe they head on over down south to that other promotion.
Yeah, the only reason I'm guessing that Revival is going to keep the titles is simply they just got them. And we talk all the time about WWE hot-shotting title changes so frequently that they just got the titles. They're doing well with them. Yes, that's true. They're not really working with Shane anymore, despite that. Those 2 weeks were actually pretty good when they were kind of almost four horsemen-esque light versions with them kind of in that tag team role. I like them. I want them to keep the titles. I think more importantly, we need new face tag team championship challengers on the Raw show. And if you give them to the Usos, they're looking for another heel team. So give me the Revival. I don't necessarily know that it's going to happen, but I'm hopeful. We'll move back over to SmackDown BC. We have Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross in a 2-on-1 handicap match. This is our first quote-unquote Extreme Rules match of Extreme Rules. Not that extreme here. Nikki Cross was basically on TV this week talking about being co-champions with Alexa Bliss. Do you see them actually doing that?
I hope they actually do that. This has been obviously teased before in the past. I believe it was KO, Kevin Owens, and Chris Jericho who had you believing that they could be going in that direction, which WWE didn't. I like the chaos the idea of co-champions brings just as much as I like the New Day using the Freebird rule and having anyone be allowed to put the tag team title around their waist and defend it. Obviously, we know where this is headed. It's another Alexa Bliss friendship storyline in which she's more of a bully using the other person. But the fact that they've gone so over and above in having Bayley and others tell Nikki Cross that she's being used makes me wonder whether this is all a setup to continue to get Nikki Cross over. Maybe not necessarily into a solo title run, but maybe give a co-champion title run here with Bliss and Cross to help that facilitate their eventual departure from each other. Maybe that elevates Nikki Cross further. But Adam, I don't even want to talk about any of the three in this match. I want to talk about the elephant boss in the room, Sasha Banks. Do you know how many times in the build to this match they've told Bayley, you don't have any friends. You're not good at keeping friends. You don't have anyone to get your back. Sunday. We going to see this? We going to see the return of the boss? The dirt sheets tell you she's a lot happier. Her little long weekend is over in terms of being angry. She's under contract for a while. Might be time.
Yeah, I mean, I think she has 2 more years left on her deal, maybe a little bit more. She just spent this past week in Japan working with Maiko Satomura and maybe learning some stuff. Maybe that's part of a video package announcing her return. I don't know. Maybe it was just a nice trip. But look, you don't know how much you miss Sasha Banks in WWE until Sasha Banks is gone from WWE. And she's been gone since April. To me, that is the storyline here. And that's no offense to really anyone else in the match, but they are definitely setting this up to allow fans to expect that Sasha Banks comes in to save Bayley, at some point help her retain the title. Now, my hope, and your hope, I'm sure, is we want to see the boss, the legit boss, Sasha Banks, come back. We want to see her turn heel again on Bayley, so maybe she saves her, retains the title, and they start the feud that they should have finished a year ago. Let me change that. They finished the feud they should have finished a year ago and go into SummerSlam in a SmackDown women's title match with Bayley having the title and Sasha Banks as the challenger. That's the only way I see this panning out to a way that gets me excited, because you know what doesn't excite me? Co-champions. It devalues the title. It's ridiculous. The stipulation sucks. I'd much rather see another one-on-one match and have Nikki Cross be outside the ring doing something. But look, you saw the graphic that our producer John had up there. Alexa Bliss is a 5-time women's champion. Can you actually believe that? And they're going to make her 6 and have this one be co-champions with Nikki Cross?
I actually think we're going in that direction. I think not only will the heels win, but you will get Sasha back, and it could end up leading into some kind of Sasha Banks versus Nikki Cross type of feud to get the title on her. Yeah, a heel turn would be better. I'd love if they even did that on Sunday night. Sasha Banks gets the big pop coming in, looking like she's going to save her former teammate, only to turn on her. It gets me fired up. I mean, Adam, I had a dream I hadn't made it. But there's nothing stopping me right now, right? I don't know the rest of the words to that weird song. But let's see some boss time. All right, Michael Cole, let's do this.
It is boss time. And a fun fact I noticed on Raw is every time there was someone who had maybe it was SmackDown actually, but they had like a bring Sasha Banks back sign in the crowd, and every time the guy lifted it, Kevin Dunn immediately cut away from it. So it's either they don't want her name mentioned on TV, which would mean she's not coming back, or they don't want to spoil it and have her name out there for fans to see it. So I found that to be very interesting. Also interesting, BC, the Braun Strowman Bobby Lashley match. What did I say to you after coming out of Raw 2 weeks ago? I said, this match could actually main event Extreme Rules. You may have thought that was a little hyperbolic. That's fine. But they are going to be in a last man standing match on this show. I am completely excited for it. What do you think happens here? Do you think that Bobby Lashley can win this match?
I don't know. That would depend on how long you would want this storyline and this angle and feud to go, and whether you actually had legitimate plans for Bobby Lashley to like go up to the title level. Maybe actually have that Braun Strowman feud that we sort of said makes too much sense not to do it. 2 former MMA fighters coming together. So if you're going to go in that way, the kind of push you need is to get him past Braun Strowman right now, who again is sort of lost in the We're not really doing anything with him. We don't really see him as a title contender. We're just going to have him blow stuff up. The good news is when he blew stuff up a couple Raws ago, it was absolutely fantastic. And what that moment did, Adam, is I think it put a little bit of pressure on them. We can't have a ho-hum Extreme Rules last man standing match. There isn't much extreme about this card if we're being really honest. We're in Philly. Let's get extreme. Let's have this last man standing match be all over the arena. Let's have an even bigger next level type explosive way to end this match. And how about let's give Bobby Lashley that push? He's not great, but there's a way you can present him, and he's not getting any younger in his early 40s, that you can still get something out of him with those muscles, and you can still get him closer to a feud that matters. I don't know what I predicted for this, but you just talked me into wanting Bobby Lashley to win.
For me, it's a no-doubter. That's my prediction because, I mean, you see this badass footage here. This is awesome. Like, this is what we want out of professional wrestling. It's what we want out of WWE. And to their credit, they followed that up with a couple promos from Bobby Lashley that are what we want out of Bobby Lashley. And look, I don't think anyone ever wants Braun Strowman losing because a guy his size, his talent, he shouldn't, in kayfabe really ever lose. He should probably already have been champion, right? But if you're not going to have him at champion, and you're looking at Seth Rollins maybe coming out of Extreme Rules as champion, we'll discuss that in a little bit, he needs a heel challenger for SummerSlam. And I seriously buy in to Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, especially because that presents a really good opportunity for Brock Lesnar either to get involved in the match or possibly start the feud with Bobby Lashley that we've wanted to see from Brock Lesnar for so long. So, look, it's time to put Bobby Lashley over. It's time to give him a chance. They're paying him a lot of money. He's a big name. I think you have Bobby Lashley win this match. To me, it's a no-brainer.
And by the way, real quick on Braun Strowman, we have optimism that the future's changing with Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff now supposedly heavily involved in creative moving forward as we head into the big Fox launch. So can we do something different with Braun Strowman? Can he not be Andre the Giant 2.0 and the king of blow-up things? Can we go back? Like, I don't need him to be the Big Show of this era. Adam, you know what I want him to be? That badass heel he was when he originally debuted on the main roster with the Wyatt family, and he used to lift people up and choke them out cold. I think there's a ton of money in him as a giant as a giant heel feuding against your top baby faces where you don't even necessarily need to give him the title. I think when you keep him a baby face and a quote-unquote attraction, and then you never really cash that in terms of making him feel credible, he feels kind of underwhelming overall.
I do think it's smart that they made this a last man standing match because it does actually give Lashley the opportunity to win without really hurting Strowman. He can pin him with a forklift or, throw a bunch of ladders over him or pin him under the stage. There's ways to get Lashley the win and make it look like it just happened versus that he actually physically dominated and defeated Braun Strowman. And honestly, if they decide to put Strowman over, same thing the other way. It would allow Lashley to save a little bit of face. We're going to talk about two guys who are much, much smaller than Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman. Those are Ricochet and AJ Styles in a United States Championship match. Ricochet coming in as the champion, just defeated Samoa Joe at Stomping Grounds. It's his first title in WWE. BC never even had one in NXT. I'm sorry, he did have the North American Championship, but in the main roster, first ever title. Meanwhile, you have AJ Styles coming off a year-long run as WWE champion, looking to win the U.S. title for the third time. We've gotten plenty of taste of this on Raw. How excited are you from this match? I talked about, Cesaro and Aleister Black stealing the show and possibly being one of the matches of the year. This is right up there, too.
This might be my most anticipated match. Obviously, the in-ring potential is huge with the two workers. Loved what they've been doing on Raw. When you add in the Club, Gallows and Anderson back with a heel AJ Styles, you now have storyline wrinkles of what you can do. And when you look at this, I don't expect the title to come off of Ricochet after he just won it. Yet at the same time, I'm not really sure who's going to win it here. A heel AJ Styles would be fantastic with the title and two pieces of muscle around him. If you're going to do a longer AJ Styles Ricochet feud that can extend us through SummerSlam, maybe you want the belt to go hot pocket onto AJ and have Ricochet maybe win it back. The fact is that I don't really have a predictable outcome here means that I'm expecting them to wow me, and I think they certainly have the superstars to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question the talent that these two bring. Having the Club there certainly adds a level of intrigue. We always talk that we don't like 50-50 booking, but that's kind of what we've seen with these two guys. And something really has to give here. I don't necessarily think it's great for Styles to lose to Ricochet, on a pay-per-view like this, but at the same time, as a heel, he's more able to absorb such a loss, especially if Ricochet wins via roll-up or a schoolboy or something like that, and doesn't just straight up pin him 1, 2, 3. So I do think there's an out for Ricochet, for AJ Styles more so, to get out of this feud and move forward. But at the same time, it feels to me a little bit like they rushed this. This would have been a great feud for SummerSlam to build up all the way, have the club terrorize Ricochet, have Ricochet find some people to get his back, maybe a Cedric Alexander, some other people on the roster. But all of a sudden, they're giving it to us at Extreme Rules without a stipulation. No Extreme Rules or anything like that.
Well, you may end up getting what you want, though, Adam, because Extreme Rules ends up being an appetizer towards SummerSlam that this could really turn out to be exactly what we want. And my question is, who would get Ricochet's back in the end? What if it was Finn Balor? And what if that led to Balor joining the dark side? A lot of possibilities here. I know Finn Balor has other business on another brand. Just trying to get a little creative here.
Yeah, I mean, look, you had Triple H hug Ricochet after he won the U.S. Championship. What if you bring him in? Who knows where this could go? But I am excited for the match. It does have the potential to steal the show along with that Aleister Black and Cesaro match. And we'll see. We'll see if it continues on to SummerSlam, BC. Something I know you and I both hope does not continue, at least past Extreme Rules. Roman Reigns and The Undertaker against Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. This is a no-holds-barred tag team match, one of the other stipulation matches on this show. I mean, look, we saw Kevin Owens come out and really rip Shane McMahon and how much he's been on TV. But if I'm being totally honest, the build to this has not been terrible.
It's it's The Undertaker in 2019. It's Patrick Ewing in an Orlando Magic jersey. Get it off my screen. I think the way that this whole build has happened shows you the differences in philosophy. This Roman versus Shane and others feud has gone on way too long. So what was WWE and maybe Vince's decision at some point? How do we spice this up? How do we make people care and start cheering Roman? We bring back The Undertaker. Your ultimate thrill ride was supposed to have been your last ride, Callaway. Why are you back? And then it shows you what we saw this week. You and I already broke it down in our extended podcast of how great Kevin Owens was on SmackDown on Tuesday night, giving you the little bit of Steve Austin, little bit of CM Punk feels, and the potential of what that means, him opposite Shane. Is he going to run in on this match? I think that element adds a ton of intrigue. I need us to get away from Roman Reigns feuding against these heels, and I need Undertaker to not show up on my screen on Sunday night in Philadelphia. I said it. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm a man. I'm still 40 for another few weeks. Come at me, dead man.
I guess the point more than anything is that I was not offended by really what they've done, especially on Tuesday night on SmackDown. I thought it was a strong finish to sell that match. And listen, if anything that they do that gets Roman Reigns cheered is ultimately a win for WWE. And the truth is that doesn't happen that often these days. Roman Reigns getting organic cheers that are not almost pity cheers in some way. So, he got cheered on Tuesday. I think there's the opportunity for these two to work together well in the match. I'm glad it's a no-holds-barred match because it takes a lot of pressure off The Undertaker to perform really as a wrestler, which is what he's getting paid to do in this match, right? And ultimately, my hope is that the faces just win here and we move on with the rest of our lives. Because, as you said, any other result, anything else that keeps The Undertaker on my TV in 2019 or keeps Roman Reigns involved in a feud with Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre where he's already beat McIntyre and it's just like enough already, like let's get on with it. We wanted McIntyre to get that win over Reigns to catapult him and we never got it. So for me, I hope this is the end all be all, right?
Why don't we just make it a 6-man with Elias and Kane while we're at it?
God, if I don't need Undertaker on my screen in 2019, I definitely don't need Knoxville Mayor Glenn Jacobs on my screen donning the red mask in 2019. What I do need, BC, on my screen in 2019 and Sunday at Extreme Rules, 7 p.m. Eastern on the WWE Network, is Kofi Kingston coming in as a WWE champion against Samoa Joe. And BC, spoiler alert, I'm picking Samoa Joe to win the WWE title. What say you?
I'm right with you because it would seem like it's the perfect time because it doesn't seem like the perfect time. A lot of us thought, great story for Kofi at WrestleMania. Great moment. Not really cut out to be a long-term champion. In fact, I think the last few pay-per-views I sat here and said, it's time to take the belt off Kofi. Something has happened since then. I think Kofi has really stepped it up and has been a fine champion in a lot of ways. His match quality has been through the roof. And last week's middle finger to Samoa Joe certainly had that next level sort of, we going PG-13 here? This is great. Kofi, kind of a badass. Love where this is going. With all that said, now is the time. Samoa Joe is hot. You've heated him up so many times, then to do nothing with him, it would make so much more of an impact to have Samoa Joe beat Kofi here, the beloved champion, and do it in a disrespectful, physical, violent way that not only is he the right guy to finally taste that level of a title, but even if you wanted to double it back, even if you're Vince and going, well, the people really love cheering for Kofi at WrestleMania, let's give it to them again at SummerSlam. Even if it was that predictable, Adam, where Samoa Joe would win the title here and then lose it back to another giant babyface pop in Toronto, I'm here for it. Let's do it. Let's see what Samoa Joe can do each week with the title. He's the best promo in the company right now. Daniel Bryan's close, but Samoa Joe does that heel, I'm going to kick your arse stuff even better than Daniel Bryan does the environment stuff.
We also, by the way, just badly need heel champions. Like, I believe all the singles champions right now are faces, and that is a massive problem when you're going into SummerSlam. And at SummerSlam, you want faces to win championships, right? So at their biggest shows, that's what you want to happen. But right now, who's going to beat them? Other faces? No. There's a major dearth of heel champions right now. And Samoa Joe, I mean, look, you can like Daniel Bryan, you can like Brock Lesnar. Samoa Joe is my favorite heel in the company. This is a great feud already, despite it being somewhat hotshot. And you know I hate that he's a Raw superstar contending for a SmackDown title. But you know what? In this era, in this age of the wild card rule, who cares? It's over. The roster split's basically done. I'd much rather get the title on Samoa Joe. Kofi has had a fantastic run. I thought he was a great champion from the very beginning. It took you a little bit to come around. I don't care. I'm glad we're on the same side right now. But Samoa Joe would be an amazing WWE champion too. And he's the perfect type of guy to take the title into SummerSlam, as you mentioned. And if you want Kofi to win it back, that's fine. We're like 6 weeks away from SummerSlam. You got plenty of time to build that. Have Kofi earn a number one contendership again. That's great. What I want to see is a guy with the WWE title who really makes it feel like the WWE title. And we had that with AJ Styles. We had it with Daniel Bryan. Kofi brings a different light to it, and I'm happy for him. You know, I was rooting for him months before WrestleMania ever started, but he's had his run. It's time to take the title off him. It's time to give it to a dominating guy like Samoa Joe and just bring that prestige to the title that we want to see, where you really think, man, I don't know who's going to beat this guy. And that's how I kind of feel when I look at Samoa Joe. And look, maybe I only feel that way for 6 weeks and Kofi wins, like you said, and like I kind of co-signed there. But it's something that I'm extremely excited about.
Can I fantasy book and fill your veins with excitement here? All right. Kofi is going to lose the title on Sunday against Samoa Joe. But New Day will have won the championships early in the card. So Kofi's now a tag team champion again. It's a soft landing. We head into SummerSlam where Kofi says, not only am I getting my rematch against Samoa Joe for the title, but hey, Big E and Xavier, I'll defend with you. I'll help you out. Accidentally, Kofi costs his New Day brethrens the tag titles at SummerSlam. We head to that title match later against Samoa Joe. And it's Big E who turns back into Dolph Ziggler bodyguard Big E with the African colors and turns heel on Kofi Kingston. And then we get that New Day implosion feud that I've always wanted. Kofi on one side, Big E on the other. Xavier Woods trying to keep the cohesion between them, but it's unsuccessful. There's big business there. And you can do that with Kofi either winning the belt back from Samoa Joe to get the big pop moment and then have Big E turn, or you can have Big E cost him the title later. I love what you do for me. New Day explosion feud. It's time to cash in on it.
I thought you were doing a Toyota promo there
or something like that.
It was close. That's why these guys, every time we talk to Kofi, every time we talk to Xavier, every time we talk to Big E, that's why they call you, BC, a wedge driver, because you're trying to drive them apart. It's not going to happen. You can book the damn territory all you want. WWE isn't splitting up New Day, and more importantly, New Day isn't letting WWE split up New Day. And we talk about relationships and people not getting split up. Well, we hope this one lasts a long time. It is the main event, at least we expect it to be the main event of Extreme Rules. Winners take all mixed tag team Extreme Rules match. You see the title there. I'm not making it up. Seth Rollins defending his Universal Championship. Becky Lynch defending her WWE Raw Women's Championship in the same match against Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. We have seen these title matches now individually, one-on-one, on 2 consecutive shows. The additional stipulation here is if Corbin and Lacey Evans lose, they never get another title match against Rollins and Lynch respectively. And if Rollins and Lynch win, hey, they're the champions. They don't have to deal with it anymore. We get new feuds heading into SummerSlam. Brian, there's a lot of ways this match can go. There's no elimination. There's no BS confusing rules here outside of the confusion that you already see on your screen. Is there any possible way that Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch both lose their titles on Sunday night?
I mean, it doesn't seem likely. I'm trying to create a scenario here, okay? The Baron Corbin factor really makes you lose any belief that they would put the biggest title on him, even for a short period of time. Yeah, he could sell it as a heel who cheated to win or whatever, but no. My only confusion is this. This feels more like a SummerSlam match. It's for the little bit more of the casuals and the kiddies. It's a mixed gender match. It feels like it's the perfect one you would do on SummerSlam and have the baby faces win and have Seth and Becky hug and kiss and we're dating and it's great and we figure it out and it's great. But yet it's the main event potentially of Extreme Rules 2 months before. That's a little bit interesting to me. I know we're going to over smark ourselves here and try to, smark ourselves into a corner here, but is there any chance that that's the direction we're going, to put the heels over for a short title run, and Becky and Seth's relationship now gets questioned? I know there's some that question whether it's actually a real relationship or is it for storyline purposes only. There's some drama you could make there, Adam. I mean, I know we're seeing it maybe over the top with the Canellises in terms of Maria yelling at him and stuff, but what if all the build to the storyline is true? Would you be entertained by the idea of Seth and Becky losing this and one of them blaming the other one for losing the title, and then you get the long-term drama that I guess could lead to a mixed rematch, or it could just lead to some other craziness?
It's just, I mean, who cares? Like, I think it's a fine storyline for a mid-level pay-per-view to get us through it on the way to SummerSlam. But if you're going to rebook this for SummerSlam and keep this going, and your main storyline going into SummerSlam is Becky and Seth being mad at each other for losing each other's titles, and maybe having 4th matches in a row against Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans, then you don't want people to watch SummerSlam. You don't want people to buy tickets to go to Toronto, whatever stadium or arena it's going to be in. I'm sorry, guys, up there. I forget where it's going to be. You don't want that, because those are horrible bookings. These have been terrible feuds, and fans have told you that they're sick of both. So they're at least setting it up for a happy ending where not only do they retain their titles, they're a couple, it's a feel-good moment, so on and so forth, but they're also ridding us of Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans from the title picture. If they don't go that way, then all of the bad blood that we have felt about this, seeing Baron Corbin in the main event for like 9 months now, definitely since the Royal Rumble, and seeing Lacey Evans get this massive push immediately coming out of WrestleMania, despite really not deserving it, despite being a decent talker and having a decent finisher, then you're just continuing this over and over again, and you're basically telling me that nothing that they have done the last 3 months really matters, because they can give us a convoluted stipulation main event with a relationship angle, and that's how we're going to send you into SummerSlam. No, there's no way they're that bad, and maybe if those were the plans, hopefully with Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff at the helm, those are not going to be the plans, BC. I can't stomach it. Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, retain those titles, head into SummerSlam with separate singles feuds for your titles.
All right, but here's the deal, though. Paul Heyman is part of this right now and is a genius. So what if the heels do win on Sunday night and we have a heel go home and people are like, wow? And what if Becky costs Seth accidentally the match and their titles? And what if over the next few weeks, Lacey Evans starts getting chummy with Seth? First, he's like, no way, get away from me. But then eventually she manipulates him into believing that Becky cost him the titles and Becky has ruined his reign and brought his career down and his value down. eventually in almost a Elizabeth Mega Powers type situation, but even deeper this time, Lacey brings Seth over to the dark side. They're secretly dating. She coerces Baron Corbin into giving Seth a title shot, then cheats to make sure Corbin loses. Seth wins back his title. They're a power couple. And then Becky, needing a super babyface by her side, calls up Hulk Roman Reigns. And then our SummerSlam match is Becky and Roman against heel Seth and Lacey Evans. No? I got myself fired up.
You're doing what you're doing is like Attitude Era / Ruthless Aggression Era booking with PG era characters. No, thank you. Don't want it. I don't want any more mixed tags outside of the mixed match challenge. I like that very much. It's fun, great. You want to have a mixed tag on Raw? Great, good for you. I don't need it main eventing shows. I don't need 2 titles on the line in a single match. They tried that back in the day. It kind of worked then. It doesn't work in a mixed tag match where only the women can fight the women and only the men can fight the men because we don't do intergender rules in WWE. Look, Brian, the best thing WWE can do, I've said this many times on the podcast. I say this all the time on Twitter. Sometimes the most predictable finish is the best finish. Give us the storyline we want. Let the faces win. Let us go out on a high note. And then carry the goodwill over to Raw, which is really going to be the start, from what we understand, of the Paul Heyman executive director era. I said error, I meant era. And then move on to SmackDown. Same thing with Eric Bischoff. That's the way that we need to end Extreme Rules on Sunday night.
Hey, not the way I would have booked it, but, that's why I'm sitting in this chair in my basement talking to you right now. Truth.
It is, BC, and that wraps it up for our Extreme Rules preview here at CBS Sports. Hope you're watching this on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to the State of Combat podcast wherever you get podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, everywhere. Thanks for joining us today. See you later.